I'm Heinbach and it's good to have you back. What I've set up here is a multi-channel sound-on-sound looping setup in the style pioneered by Robert Fripp, Brian Eno and Terry Riley. I'm using two reel-to-reel tape recorders connected through this small mixer here to create spontaneous compositions based on looping. This is a much more advanced system than what I showed previously on this channel. I have a video on doing this with a closed loop and two mono machines, which I'll link at the end. And there I also go a bit more into the history of how this came about. This is why I'm skipping the history part for this video. And I'll be talking mostly about the advantages of this system and also its disadvantages and how you can set it up in your own studio if you so desire. But first, a bit more music. In this example, the tape ran out, and this immediately prompted the question from a viewer, why did the loop run out? Isn't it supposed to be forever? Not in this setup. We are not using a closed loop. A closed loop means splicing a length of tape together and then running that over a mic stand, a beer bottle, or even a dedicated roller. And then you bypass the erase head either by putting something in between the erase head and the tape or by routing it differently. That is the simplest way to achieve sound-on-sound looping. While simple, this has a serious disadvantage. The first thing you record is gonna sound the best because the tape is probably erased and biased by the erase head. Every continuous recording over that is gonna lack a bit in fidelity and it's all gonna start to go into a lovely lo-fi grunge after some time. That is a nice effect, but not something the people that started sound-on-sound looping back in the 50s and 60s were looking for. They wanted sound quality. So they came up with this style of sound-on-sound looping. The signal is sent to the first machine. The first machine records. The recorded signal travels via the tape to the second machine where it's played back. That playback is then fed back to the first machine where it's being recorded again. So you're getting recording upon recording and can also play upon that. So the reel to the left is always correctly biased. Every recording you make upon it is gonna be clean, and the only degradation is gonna be the quality of this tape machine to this tape machine and the signal path in between. But it takes much longer for sounds to degrade that way unless you want it. Your final recording is then on this reel. And that is how Robert Fripp made his records. If you are doing this with a locked loop, you would need a third machine to record everything. Plus you get more degradation over time, as you're not feeding in fresh tape, but rather you're recording on the same loop over and over. Depending on the tape material, that can deteriorate fast if you're using consumer tape, not so much if you're using professional tape. Now, I mentioned initially that I was doing multitrack sound on sound. And what are the advantages of that? The main advantage to multi-track recording is that you've got multiple tracks. So you can record something on one track and let that gently fade while you record the next and the next. Then you decide track 3 should stay. This is now the new core, and then you build around it, then you fade it. This gives you a lot more flexibility than if it was just one mono tape loop. These TX 3440s are 4-track machines, and I mean true 4-track machines, because many consumer reel reels also say they have 4 tracks, but that usually means 2 tracks stereo, because one half of the tape is for side A, and then you flip it and you get side B with another stereo. So just beware that this multi-track technique won't work with one of those consumer recorders. You need a proper 4-track machine. This TX Model 2A was made to work with machines like the TX 3440s because it uses 4 buses. So you can send a signal to each of these machines. So I have my input signals on track 1 and 2, and I can send these to the machine via the buses 1, 2, 3 and 4. The bus outputs are here on top and they go into the inputs on this machine. The outputs of this machine feed back onto channel 3, 4, 5 and 6. And I've set it so they will record back into themselves. So track 1 goes then back to here, track 2 goes back here, so it all feeds back into itself once I open up the faders. This gives me the freedom to shape each looped track individually. I can change the equalizer, or I can create new envelopes using the fader, because the signal from here will only be sent back to this machine if I open up the fader. Here's an example with piano. The recording time of the loop is defined by the distance of the two tape machines to each other and the tape speed that you choose. If I route the tape like this, down here, up here again, and then all the way up here to there, back down, and here I will get about 8 seconds. But there's nothing preventing me, except size differences right now, to make this longer, higher, higher, higher. I could even hang it up from the ceiling, because moving the machines themselves is hard. Those weigh 35 kilograms and they're huge. One very interesting thing you can do is experiment with tape feedback, because that's something that tape does so very well. By setting the volume higher than it was recorded, I can keep on building it up until it distorts and creates all these beautiful tapey hisses and drones. There's a sample pack of these and more sounds on my Patreon. Thank you for your support there. That is what keeps this channel going. Another advantage of sound on multitrack is I've got a 4-track recording. I can now treat the recording as a whole by very speeding it or by reversing it. And then I've got all 4 tracks individually, and I can record those into my digital audio workstation and then add effects and make the whole thing a bit more polished than just the raw monitor sound I was using all through this video. Because for lack of a patch bay in this experimental setup, I used the monitor outs from this TX3440. Cutting up and rearranging the recordings is also an easy way to get good results from this technique. You end up with a lot of inspiring stuff on the reel. Actually, making a piece with 4-track tape looping is something that's not easy at all. You need to listen very carefully, remember what you said where. It requires practice and dedication. And that's probably the biggest downside to this. You need to invest time and not only equipment. Now, what do you need when you want to try this at home? First, you're gonna need a mixer that has buses or auxes, so you can route them to the tape machine and feed the tape back into itself. Then you're gonna need 2 tape machines, multi-track ones, and I recommend getting ones of the same type. You might get away with 2 slightly different ones, but you're gonna run into problems if you try this with different machines, because they record differently. The sound quality from one machine to the other might be different. The head spacing might be different. You're gonna run into alignment problems. So having 2 tape machines of the same kind is usually the best way. I like working with these TX here. I recorded a bunch of music with them with my friend Lukman, no computer already. They're just good sounding machines that don't break the bank. I don't think I paid more than 500 for each of these. But as usual, don't just look on eBay or Reverb. Look into local classifieds, look at flea markets, garage sales, and so on. There you're gonna make deals. The Heinbach subreddit is also a nice place to stay up to date with all things tape and test equipment. And you might want to check out my newsletter, News from the Niche, which comes out every month. And there are book tips in there too. That's it for this video. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments below. And I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye.